The grinding sound of metal on metal pierced the afternoon air as Eliza Montgomery's sleek Porsche 911 shuddered to a halt on the side of the dusty country road, smoke billowing from beneath its hood. Cursing under her breath, she pressed her forehead against the steering wheel, her tailored Armani suit doing little to protect her from the oppressive summer heat now that the air conditioning had died along with the engine. At 32, Eliza had built an empire worth billions from the ground up, transforming a small tech startup into Montgomery Innovations, one of the world's leading technology firms. She could negotiate multi-billion-dollar deals without breaking a sweat, but a manual transmission on a classic car she'd impulsively purchased at auction last week. That had proven to be her kryptonite. The irony wasn't lost on her as she reached for her phone, only to discover there was no signal. Of course, the one day she'd decided to take the scenic route to her countryside retreat, avoiding her security detail and driver for a rare moment of solitude, would be the day everything went wrong. A gentle knock on her window startled her. A man in worn jeans and a faded t-shirt stood outside, concern etched on his face. He was tall with broad shoulders and kind eyes, his light brown hair slightly tousled by the breeze. Behind him, a little girl of about 6 peered curiously from beside a modest pickup truck parked a few yards away. Eliza rolled down the window manually, another unfamiliar action in this vintage vehicle. "Car trouble?" the man asked, his voice deep and gentle. "You could say that," Eliza replied, trying to maintain her composure. "I think I've managed to destroy this transmission in record time." The man's eyes crinkled as he smiled. "Manual transmission can be tricky if you're not used to it." He extended his hand. "I'm Kyle Evans." "Eliza," she responded, deliberately omitting her last name. Her face was rarely in the media, a strategic choice she'd made early in her career. "I'd shake your hand, but I'm afraid mine are covered in sweat and probably transmission fluid at this point." Kyle laughed, a warm sound that somehow made the sweltering heat more bearable. "Well, Eliza, I'm no mechanic, but I've been driving stick since I was 16. Mind if I take a look?" She hesitated only briefly before nodding. "Please, I'd appreciate any help." As Kyle circled to the front of the car, the little girl approached cautiously, a stuffed bunny clutched in her arms. "Hi," the child said, her blue eyes, identical to her father's, studying Eliza with unabashed curiosity. "I'm Lily, that's my dad. He can fix anything." Eliza smiled, charmed by the child's confidence in her father. "Is that so? Well, I'm very lucky he came along then." "Daddy," Lily called out, "is the lady's car broken?" Kyle closed the hood and wiped his hands on a rag he'd pulled from his back pocket. "Not broken beyond repair, sweet pea, but it's going to need some work." He turned to Eliza. "You've burned out the clutch pretty badly." "It's not something we can fix roadside." Eliza sighed, running a hand through her dark hair. "Perfect, and there's no cell service out here." "There's a garage in town about 20 minutes away," Kyle offered. "We can give you a lift if you'd like. They can send a tow truck for your car." "That would be wonderful," Eliza said gratefully, gathering her purse and stepping out of the Porsche. As they walked toward his truck, Eliza noticed the worn paint and the careful way Kyle helped Lily into her booster seat in the back. The truck was old but impeccably clean, with a child's drawing taped to the dashboard and a small toolbox on the floor. "We're on our way home from the community center," Kyle explained as he started the engine, which rumbled to life with a low growl. Lily had her dance class. "I'm a ballerina," Lily announced proudly from the back seat. "Daddy watches me every time, even though he has to miss work sometimes." "That's very dedicated of your dad," Eliza said, noticing Kyle's slight grimace at his daughter's innocent remark. "I do construction," Kyle explained, his eyes on the road. "Hourly work. If I don't show up, I don't get paid, but some things are more important than money." The simple statement hit Eliza harder than she expected. When was the last time she'd prioritized anything over work, over money? The question lingered uncomfortably as they drove. The small town of Riverdale came into view, a picturesque collection of brick buildings and family-owned businesses. Kyle pulled up to a garage with a weathered sign reading Joe's Auto Repair. "Wait here," he said, hopping out to speak with a heavyset man wiping his hands on a greasy rag. Eliza turned to look at Lily, who was humming softly while making her stuffed bunny dance. "Your daddy seems very nice," Eliza said. Lily nodded enthusiastically. "He's the best daddy ever. He makes pancakes shaped like animals on Saturdays and reads me 3 stories before bed, even when he's super tired." Her face grew serious. "Mommy went to heaven when I was 2. Daddy says she's watching over us like a star." Eliza's heart clenched at the child's matter-of-fact description of her loss. "I'm sure she is," she managed to say through the sudden tightness in her throat. Kyle returned before Lily could say more. "Joe's sending someone for your car, but he's backed up. Won't be able to look at it until tomorrow at the earliest." Eliza's mind raced through her options. Her retreat was still 30 miles away and with no car and no cell service to call her assistant. "There's a decent hotel in town," Kyle offered, seeming to read her thoughts. "The Riverdale Inn, nothing fancy but clean and comfortable." "Thank you," Eliza said, genuinely grateful for his help. "Could you drop me there, of course?" The Riverdale Inn turned out to be a quaint 3-story building with hanging flower baskets decorating its entrance. Kyle insisted on coming inside to make sure she got checked in properly. The elderly woman at the reception desk greeted Kyle by name. "Evening, Kyle. Who's your friend?" "This is Eliza," Kyle said. "Her car broke down on County Road 16. She needs a room for the night." The woman, whose name tag read Martha, smiled warmly at Eliza. "We've got our best room available. Will you be staying long?" "Just until my car is fixed," Eliza replied, reaching for her wallet. "Daddy," Lily tugged at Kyle's hand. "Can Eliza have dinner with us?" "She doesn't know anybody here, and you said it's not nice to eat alone." Kyle looked mortified. "Lily, I'm sure Eliza has plans, actually." Eliza interrupted, surprising herself. "I'd love to join you for dinner if it's not an imposition." The smile that lit up Lily's face was worth the momentary awkwardness, and even Kyle's expression softened. "We're just having spaghetti," he warned. "Nothing fancy." "Spaghetti sounds perfect." After checking in and freshening up, Eliza found herself following Kyle's directions to a modest house on the edge of town. The small front yard was meticulously maintained, with a child's bicycle propped against the porch and cheerful marigolds lining the walkway. Dinner was simple but delicious, the homemade sauce rich with herbs that Kyle admitted he grew in a small garden out back. Lily dominated the conversation, filling Eliza in on the important details of her life as a first grader, from her best friend Emma to the class pet hamster named Whiskers. As Kyle cleared the plates, he caught Eliza's eye. "How'd you end up with a classic Porsche if you can't drive stick?" he asked, his tone curious rather than judgmental. Eliza took a sip of water, considering her answer. "Impulse purchase," she admitted. "I've always wanted to learn, but never had the time." "Daddy can teach you," Lily exclaimed excitedly. "He taught Uncle Rob, and Uncle Rob said it was like teaching a monkey to do ballet, but Daddy was patient." Kyle laughed, the sound making something warm unfurl in Eliza's chest. "I'm not sure Eliza wants driving lessons from me, sweet pea." But as the evening wound down and Kyle drove her back to the inn, Eliza found herself considering the idea. "Would you?" she asked suddenly. "Teach me to drive stick, I mean. I'd pay you, of course." Kyle glanced at her, surprise evident in his expression. "You don't need to pay me. I'd be happy to help." "I insist," Eliza said firmly. "Your time is valuable." A shadow crossed his face, and Eliza realized her mistake. To a man struggling to make ends meet, such a comment could sound condescending. "What I mean is," she amended quickly, "you'd be doing me a favor. At least let me compensate you for the inconvenience." Kyle was quiet for a moment. "Tell you what," he finally said, pulling up to the inn. "I've got a job tomorrow morning, but I'm free in the afternoon. If your car isn't ready yet, I can give you a lesson in my truck. You can thank me by joining us for dinner again. Lily already likes you more than most of my friends." The thought of another evening in their company was unexpectedly appealing. "Deal," Eliza agreed. The next morning brought the news that her Porsche would need parts ordered and wouldn't be ready for at least 3 days. Ordinarily, such a delay would have sent Eliza into a tailspin of rescheduled meetings and frantic calls. Instead, She felt a strange sense of relief as she used the inn's landline to contact her assistant and clear her calendar for the week, claiming a personal emergency. Kyle picked her up at 1 o'clock, Lily chattering excitedly from the back seat about her morning at summer day camp. They drove to an empty high school parking lot, where Kyle patiently explained the basics of manual transmission. His teaching style was clear and methodical, and Eliza found herself absorbing the information with surprising ease. "The key is to feel the connection between the clutch and the gas," Kyle explained as they swapped seats. "It's like a dance. Your left foot and right foot need to work together." Eliza's first attempts were jerky and frustrating, the truck stalling repeatedly as she misjudged the clutch release. "You're overthinking it," Kyle said gently. "You're used to being in control of everything, aren't you?" The observation was so accurate that Eliza's hands tightened on the wheel. "Is it that obvious?" Kyle's smile was kind. "Let's just say I recognize the signs. Try again, but this time don't think about it so hard. Listen to the engine, feel when it wants to move." By the end of the 2-hour lesson, Eliza had managed to drive several laps around the parking lot without stalling. The sense of accomplishment was disproportionate to the actual achievement, but Kyle's proud nod made it feel significant. "Not bad for a first lesson," he said as they switched places again. "You're a quick study." "I had a good teacher," Eliza replied, feeling strangely shy under his approving gaze. That evening, dinner was takeout from the local diner, eaten on a blanket in the small backyard as the summer sun slowly set. Lily showed Eliza her collection of rocks and feathers, treasures gathered on walks with her father, each with its own story. As Lily's bedtime approached, the little girl asked Eliza to join them for story time. Sitting on the edge of Lily's small bed, watching Kyle's animated reading of Where the Wild Things Are, complete with monster voices that sent Lily into fits of giggles, Eliza felt a longing for something she'd never even known she was missing. The next day's driving lesson was followed by a trip to the local ice cream shop, where Lily insisted Eliza try the super-duper chocolate explosion because it makes Daddy's eyes cross. It's so good. By the third day, Eliza had progressed to driving on actual roads, Kyle's calm presence beside her making the experience less intimidating than it might have been. "You're a natural," he said as she successfully navigated a hill start, a maneuver that had terrified her just days ago. "Hardly," Eliza laughed. "But I'm starting to understand the appeal. There's something satisfying about doing this manually, feeling connected to the machine." Kyle nodded, his eyes crinkling at the corners. "Exactly. That's what I love about working with my hands, whether it's driving or building." There's an honesty to it. That evening, after Lily was tucked in, Kyle and Eliza sat on the front porch steps, fireflies blinking in the gathering darkness. "Can I ask you something?" Kyle said after a comfortable silence. "Of course." "What do you really do, for work, I mean?" Eliza tensed. "What makes you think I haven't been truthful?" Kyle shrugged, his shoulder brushing against hers. "You're smart, obviously educated, wearing clothes that cost more than my monthly mortgage even when they're casual. You bought a classic Porsche on impulse. You're not a teacher or a nurse like you let Lily think," Eliza sighed, staring at her hands. "I run a tech company, a successful one." "How successful?" His voice was curious, not accusatory. "Very," she admitted. "I don't usually tell people right away. It changes how they see me." Kyle was quiet for a long moment. "Is that why you didn't give me your last name? Because I might recognize it." Eliza nodded, waiting for his expression to change, for the familiar shift from seeing her as a person to seeing her as a commodity, a connection, an opportunity. Instead, he just nodded thoughtfully. "Must be lonely." The simple observation, free from judgment or curiosity about her wealth, brought a lump to her throat. "Sometimes," she whispered. The next day, Joe from the garage called to say her Porsche was repaired and ready to go. Eliza felt an unexpected pang at the news. Her impromptu stay in Riverdale was coming to an end. Kyle insisted on accompanying her to pick up the car, Lily in tow since it was Saturday and there was no school or day camp. "I'm going to miss you," Lily said matter-of-factly as they walked from the garage to where the repaired Porsche gleamed in the sunlight. "Will you come back to visit us?" Eliza knelt to the child's level, struck by how attached she'd grown to this little family in just a few days. "I'd like that very much if your dad wouldn't mind." "He wouldn't," Lily said confidently. "He likes you a lot. His eyes get all crinkly when he looks at you, like they did when he used to look at pictures of my mom." Eliza's heart stuttered in her chest. She stood up to find Kyle watching them, a mix of emotions on his face that she couldn't quite decipher. "Lily has a vivid imagination," he said softly. "Does she?" Eliza asked, finding courage she didn't know she possessed. Kyle's eyes held hers, serious and sincere. "Not about this." The moment stretched between them, full of possibility. Then Lily tugged at her hand. "Show us what you learned. Drive your super fast car," the spell broken. Eliza smiled down at the little girl. "It's not that fast, but yes, I'd love to show you." With Kyle in the passenger seat and Lily securely buckled in the small back seat, Eliza carefully started the Porsche. The engine purred to life, and with only a slight hesitation, she smoothly engaged first gear and pulled away from the curb. "You did it," Lily cheered from the back seat. Kyle's proud smile was worth all the stalled engines and grinding gears of the past few days. "Perfect," he said softly, and Eliza knew he wasn't just talking about her driving. They drove to a small lake outside of town, where Kyle had packed a picnic lunch. As Lily fed ducks at the water's edge under their watchful eyes, Kyle turned to Eliza. "So what happens now? You go back to your real life, and we become a story you tell at cocktail parties. This one time when my Porsche broke down in the middle of nowhere." The hurt beneath his light tone was unmistakable, and Eliza realized how it must look from his perspective. A wealthy woman slumming it for a few days before returning to her privileged existence. "Is that what you think this is to me? A quaint adventure?" Kyle shrugged, his eyes on Lily. "Why wouldn't I? We live in different worlds, Eliza. I'm a single dad working construction jobs to make ends meet. You're lonely," Eliza finished for him. "Successful but lonely. Always the smartest person in the room but rarely the happiest." She reached for his hand, surprised by her own boldness. "These past few days with you and Lily have been the most genuine connection I've felt in years." Kyle's fingers tightened around hers. "You have a life to get back to." "I do," she agreed, "but who says life can't change?" "My company has been trying to establish a rural tech center, bringing jobs to smaller communities. Riverdale is as good a location as any." Hope flickered in Kyle's eyes, quickly tempered by caution. "I don't want your charity." "It's not charity," Eliza insisted. "It's business, but it's also personal. I want to see where this could go, Kyle, if you're willing to give it a chance." Before he could answer, Lily came running back, her hands wet from the lake water. "Daddy, I saw a turtle, a real one." The moment passed, but the possibility remained, hovering between them like the dragonflies skimming the lake's surface. That evening, as Eliza prepared to leave, having booked a room at her original destination for the night before heading back to the city, Lily presented her with a crayon drawing. "It's us," the little girl explained, pointing to 3 stick figures holding hands. "Me and Daddy and you. I made your car too, see? It's super shiny." Eliza blinked back unexpected tears. "It's beautiful, Lily. I'll keep it always." Kyle walked her to her car, his hands in his pockets, his expression conflicted. "Eliza, I meant what I said," she interrupted. "About the tech center. About wanting to see where this could go." She pulled a business card from her purse and handed it to him. For the first time in days, she was Eliza Montgomery, CEO of Montgomery Innovations, not just Eliza who couldn't drive stick shift. Kyle glanced at the card, his eyebrows rising slightly at the confirmation of who she really was, but his expression didn't change the way she'd feared it might. "I have some vacation time coming up next month," he said slowly. "Lily's been asking to see the aquarium in the city." Hope bloomed in Eliza's chest. "I happen to know the best ice cream shop near the aquarium," she offered, "and I have a guest room, 2 actually. I wouldn't want to impose." "It wouldn't be an imposition," Eliza assured him. "It would be the highlight of my month." Kyle's smile was slow but genuine. "In that case, maybe we could continue your driving lessons. City driving is a whole different challenge." "I'd like that," Eliza said, meaning it more than she could express. As she drove away, watching them wave in her rearview mirror, Eliza realized that for all her business acumen, She'd nearly missed recognizing the most valuable investment of all in people, in connections, in love. 3 months later, Eliza stood in the newly renovated building that would house the Riverdale Tech Training Center, watching as local residents filled out applications for the first round of classes. The center would provide technical education and remote work opportunities for the community, connecting them to the digital economy while allowing them to stay in the town they loved. "Impressive," Kyle said, coming to stand beside her. His hand found hers naturally now, their fingers intertwining without hesitation. "The mayor can't stop singing your praises." "It's good business," Eliza insisted, though they both knew it was more than that. It was a bridge between her world and his, a tangible symbol of her commitment to finding a balance. "Daddy." "Eliza," Lily called, running toward them from where she'd been chatting with Martha from the inn, who would be the center's office manager. "Can we go home now?" "You promised we could make pizza, and I want to show Eliza my new ballet routine before bedtime." Home. The word held new meaning for Eliza now. She'd kept her city apartment, of course, but more and more, the modest house on the edge of Riverdale, with its marigold-lined walkway and child's bicycle on the porch, felt like where she belonged. She'd expanded her wardrobe to include jeans that could get muddy during nature walks and sneakers comfortable enough for impromptu dance parties in the living room. Her expensive suits and designer heels still had their place, but they no longer defined her. As they walked toward Kyle's truck, Eliza's Porsche was parked at the house, reserved now for special occasions, and continued driving lessons. Kyle squeezed her hand. "Any regrets?" He asked quietly, a question he still posed occasionally, as if waiting for her to realize she'd made a mistake in choosing this life. Eliza looked at him, this man who had taught her more than just how to drive a manual transmission. He'd taught her to slow down, to appreciate the gears and mechanisms of a life well lived, to find joy in simplicity and strength in vulnerability. "Only that my car didn't break down sooner," she replied, leaning in to kiss him softly, her heart full with the certainty that sometimes the most valuable things in life couldn't be measured in dollars and cents, but in moments of connection and the courage to change course when love pointed to a different road. As they drove home, Lily chattering happily about her plans for their homemade pizza toppings, Eliza reflected on how differently her life might have turned out if she hadn't impulsively bought that Porsche, if she hadn't taken that rural road, if Kyle hadn't stopped to help a stranger. Some called it luck, others fate. Eliza preferred to think of it as the universe's way of teaching her that sometimes you had to stall out completely before you could find the right gear to move forward. And as Kyle caught her eye and smiled that warm smile that still made her heart skip a beat, Eliza knew with absolute certainty that she'd finally found exactly where and with whom she belonged.